Hey, what's up? I'm Olong, and I'm just gonna upload footage I have from heroic PTR raid testing today. There were three bosses up. It was Sprocketmonger Locknstock, one-armed Bandit, and Mugsy, head of security. These are three of like the penultimate bosses. And frankly, this is just going to be some unedited footage. I'm just going to play basically my last and or most successful pull from each fight and just kind of discuss it real quick. So if you're looking for just some content or a little bit of insight, again, apologies, this isn't the most high effort thing, but I'm just going to go ahead and do this as an what's the word, activity, exercise, an exercise for myself to review these and kind of reflect on what was going on and what I learned. So cool. So I'm going to play through this first fight. If you read the dungeon journal, you're thinking like, oh, Siegecraft or Black Fuse. Like some inventions are going to come down the conveyor belts on the sides, and then at some points he activates the inventions that are on the side conveyor belts. So if just by reading the dungeon journal it sounds like Black Fuse, but it's not like that. You don't actually target the inventions on the side or do anything involving them. They are just going to be some mechanics that happen through the fight. So for example, there will be stuff that comes down this conveyor belt, it'll shoot rockets across that way. There will be things that come down this conveyor belt, it'll shoot laser beams that way. You just have to dodge those. This middle conveyor belt is almost always safe, and it is taking you back to the entrance of the room. Occasionally, big magnets come down this, and when they activate, they kind of suck you in towards them. So that's the general layout of the room. There's one other weird thing, which is that on the sides here in the middle, there are these two little conveyor belts. On either side of these conveyor belts, there are holes that you can fall in. Pre-pull, if you fall in them, you'll die. During the pull, if you fall in them, you'll get shot back up in the air, which it's not ideal, but you're not going to just instantly die. Similar thing, there's a hole back there where the same thing applies. Occasionally on this conveyor belt, a trap will go across. So if you're trying to move from one end of the room to the other, be careful if crossing here, as there could be you need to just make sure there's not a trap on the conveyor belt as you're trying to run across it. So that's just a little bit of context of the room and the setup. I'm going to go ahead and play. So we have markers around the room. So there are going to be these mines that spawn where these markers are around the room. When you pop a mine, it puts a debuff on the raid for 2 seconds, and it would stack. So you want to pop one mine at a time. Once the debuff from a first one falls off, pop the next one. Once someone has popped a mine, they have a debuff that increases the damage they would take from it by like 1,000%. So unless you've got a bop or a turtle or something like that, you yourself can only pop one mine basically per phase. My understanding is that basically once we've gotten through this phase, and you'll see that in a little bit, like what it looks like to get through a whole phase, the debuff will fall off. So I think it almost plays out like you can have one person assigned to each marker, because I think we get a set over here, a set down there. I think there might be 3 sets per phase. I'm not exactly certain if it's 3 or 4, but hopefully that'll be clear as we watch through this. So you can it's probably best, we're probably going to have these assigned for the fight. You're going to assign people, for the first set, who's got each marker, and you'll pop them in order. The reason you need to pop them is because as the boss's other mechanics will trigger them to go off. So if you leave them, they're all going to explode at once. So you need to go ahead and pop them one at a time. So that's the first thing. While you're avoiding these mechanics, you're going to have people pop these mines one at a time till they're all away. So this is a little bit what I was alluding to earlier. The boss will have inventions come down the conveyor belts on the sides. When he electrocutes or activates that conveyor belt, the mechanic will happen. So you can kind of tell ahead of time where these lines are going to be by seeing where these things stopped on this conveyor belt. So if you keep an eye on the conveyor belt, you can kind of pre-move to dodge these things. The tank will get a mechanic. The tanks will get a mechanic on them. It's basically going to put a bomb on them, and they need to be far away from the group when it explodes, or else the group takes... The closer the group is to the tank when their debuff explodes, they take more damage. Okay, so we popped these mines. This is the mechanic wire transfer. It's going to electrocute this side of the room. We have to go to the other. If any mines are left when he does wire transfer, it will set them off. So before wire transfer happens, you need to have all the mines popped. Okay, so now we're on this half of the room, and it's going to be a good bit of the same thing. One thing that's going to happen now is that DPS players and probably healers will get targeted with mines that will, or drills that will shoot out of the floor. So you're going to want to pre-position yourself along the edge if you can, so that way you're baiting them away from the middle of the room, where people will want to move, through the middle. So try to pre-position to the edge of the room before these drills come out and stack them tightly together. If anyone steps in those drills, they get stunned and take some damage. Usually around this time, one of the tank debuffs happens. There it is, the party pack. So that tank has the party pack on him. Either the group needs to get away from him, or he needs to get away from the group before that explodes. The further away he is, the less damage the group takes. You can see here now in this conveyor belt, there are some rocket launchers positioned. So once he activates inventions, these will shoot rockets that will go across the room. Most of them seem to go in a straight line across. Other ones I've seen go crooked. So I don't know the exact functionality, whether like this, like this one went straight and this one just went sideways. So I don't know if it seems to be kind of random. It's probably just like a funny, like goblin engineering bit, and also during this time we had mines to pop, I believe. We might not have had mines yet, actually, because I don't see the debuff on me. Okay, so here's one. So mines came down here, and we're gonna need to pop these before we move away. That side of the room was being wire transferred. So after that wire transfer, we had mines over here, and we gated across. And I'm trying to figure out why. I'm pretty sure that corner of the room where the boss is now maybe it's that sonic baboon we're trying to get distance from. It's either that, or it's because we're about to see mines over here. Yeah, so where we just were is now being electrocuted. So we lock gated over here. The previous set of mines, forgive me, I'm going to scroll back just a second to understand, because I really only saw us do two. Right, so we come to this half of the room. We have two here. I wish I was more aware. Okay, so we popped one and it was right here. We popped a second one and it was right here. I'm trying to imagine where the other two are, because there only seem to have been two mines in that set. A third one was popped and it was over here, I guess, because these two sides were electrocuted or wire transferred, so they would have gone off. So this set of mines, this second set of mines, we had two here and two here. We needed to pop these first because this quadrant will be electrocuted. So we lock it across before the wire transfer happens over there, and we're all set. Boss will follow. The next thing that's going to happen, also during this, the magnets in the middle were activated, so we're getting tugged towards the middle a bit. One thing that goes off here by the boss a second ago was Sonic Baboom. That's just a really big damage on the raid, so healing cooldowns or damage, what do we call them? Damage mitigators, I guess, would have been used right there. Okay, so here's an example on this conveyor belt of the little traps that go across. So before you were to cross over this, you would want to make sure there's not one of those on the belt. So I'm going to go ahead and pre-position down here. I'm going to be popping Diamond and Skull back behind it. Okay, so currently there are two traps being put down up on that quadrant. So we're going to call for those two to be popped first. So pop one. The debuff's very short. You can see it only lasts maybe 1 to 2 seconds. So I turtle and pop this one. And the reason that I'm turtling and popping and trying to pop both Diamond and Skull is because if you pop two, the debuff makes you take a ton of damage and basically die from the second one. We're about to all get sucked in to the end of the room down here, and you don't want to chance someone that already has a debuff being sucked through one of these mines. So you want to pop these mines in a controlled manner before you get sucked through. to lessen the chance that someone with a debuff gets sucked through first, if that makes sense. Hopefully it's more clear in a minute. I might accidentally pop both here. I do. So I disengaged and immediately stepped on the second one, and you'll see everyone here gets 2 stacks of the debuff. We take a lot of damage. I killed a guy, so I apologize to the group for that. That was my bad. But that's an example of why you don't want to pop more than one at a time. The idea would be for me to pop one and then walk down here, and once the debuff expires, pop this one. Turtle in Bop probably let you pop, like, I could now let Turtle fall off and still be able to pop a third one. So Turtle and Bop and stuff like that seem very valuable for that reason. So now you'll see everyone get sucked down to the end. The boss is now on the quadrant that he was in. We all need to go down this middle conveyor belt, and I'm believing he has basically a shield we need to break. You can hit him as a melee player from the conveyor belt once you're down there. You need to walk down and avoid the purple circles in the middle, the sides being electrocuted. Let's see, he's casting Bleeding Edge. So it might not be that he has a shield on him, but just that you have to survive him casting Bleeding Edge. And now he's wire transferring on the quadrant. He's on the half of the over there he's in. So far we've seen 3 sets of mines, and at about this time, I think the initial Soaker's debuffs have fallen off. So I think this is when you could have a fresh, that's probably, pull behind. So this is right after wire transfer, I believe. Or right after Bleeding Edge. So I believe at this time you could reset your soak order. And I am not sure exactly how it'll play out, but I imagine there's a good chance. Hopefully we can reuse assignments, but that's not clear to me at this time, and I'm sure we'll figure that out going forward. So now there's new stuff on this conveyor belt. These void lasers are just like the old ones, but it's just bigger. And otherwise we're still seeing a lot of the same mechanics. So again, pop 1 mine at a time, not more than 1. You'll see these void lasers stop, I believe. Okay, so notice the void lasers. I mean, we all died because I imagine, did we have a mine? Oh, the tank blew up on top of us, it looks like. He might have gotten knocked back or something, I'm not certain. Anyway, so you'll see how these lasers have stopped. So once they've stopped, you'll know he's about to activate them. They probably stop when he starts casting Activate. So he started casting Activate, they stopped. So by looking at where these are when this mechanic happens, you can determine where the unsafe areas will be. Right? Cool. And past this point, I don't think we might have got farther than this once or twice, but that's more or less what we've seen, or what I got to see. So hopefully that was a little bit of a good introduction to this fight. Not sure exactly what all the fight was pretty clean. I don't really know that I expect them to change a lot of this. This fight works pretty well, and it was a lot of fun. So I'm going to go ahead and call my kind of discussion on this fight for this video here. I'm going to stop recording for a sec, and then I'm going to reopen it at the One-Armed Bandit. Okay, so the One-Armed Bandit is basically a slot machine. It'll spawn 3 ads at a time. When you kill one of the ads, it drops a buff on the ground for someone to pick up, and then you use an extra action button to basically like feed that buff to the boss. So each ad will be one of a few different affinities. So there's flame, shock, bomb, and coin. So when you feed 2 buffs to the boss, you get a certain set of, you get a determined boss mechanic. So if we kill the shock ad and feed that buff to the boss, and then we kill the flame ad and feed that buff to the boss, we would get reward, shock, and flame. This was like a big group AoE damage event. So you can choose which mechanics you get by the order of buffs you feed the boss. The problem is, if you ever feed the same one of these to the boss like more than once, he basically wipes you with this fraud detected mechanic. So you need to give the boss like buffs in a predetermined order, and you want to never give it the same buffs like twice, otherwise you will wipe. In terms of like which one of these was the best to give the boss versus others, I don't know. There was a wide variety of them. At this point in time, the one with the bombs seemed to be very problematic because the bombs kept respawning, and they were very hard to deal with. How this group was handling it is they pretty much always killed the one on skull first and then went left or right depending upon order. I imagine by the time we start doing this on live, we're all going to have an idea of someone's probably going to publicize like the list of the order of reward triggering that you should do. But that's just a little bit of background on that mechanic. I don't have full knowledge to tell you exactly how to play the mechanic right at this time, but that's kind of how that mechanic works, just for what it's worth. I'm probably not going to talk about it too much more because frankly, I just don't know or understand the ordering you all enough yet. Like one thing it's going to depend upon is whether or not the ads spawn in the same set every pull. Like imagine if it's always shock, flame, bomb, and then the next set is always like coin, flame, bomb, then you can predetermine like we're always doing center left and then center right and then left right or something like that. But if the ordering of the ad spawns is randomized, then you can't do that and it'll need to be called out as you go. So these first two ads that are with the boss on pull don't have affinities, so they won't drop any buffs to give the boss. So the next mechanic that'll happen throughout is this mechanic called Payline. So he's going to drop a coin's going to come down and it's going to roll. If you're very close to the coin, you'll get a debuff which actually increases your speed and damage dealt. So you want that. You have to be very close to get it though. If you get hit by the coin, you become stunned and take a lot of damage. So you want to try to get really close to the coin to pick up your damage amp, but you want to be very careful also not to get hit by one because it'll stun you for 5 seconds and it does a lot of damage to you. So, for example, the Evoker just got hit for half his health and is stunned. Same thing with the Shaman. Let's see if anyone gets the damage buff. Okay, so DJ2 did, right? So, and he's like right here. So look how close he is. And this person did not get it. I'm not sure which class this is, but I don't see anyone else with the buff is called High Roller. So this person being that close to the coin did not get it. This hunter though was all up on the coin and did get it. Oh, maybe the priest did get it where they were. In my experience, you had to be very close to this coin to pick up the debuff. So you want to be close to it, but not too close, otherwise you'll get stunned and take damage. They're going to roll, and when they hit the wall, they do a bit of group-wide damage when they fall down. And you can actually run over to them and re-roll them back through the group. So that person is going off to do that now. So basically, by re-rolling them through the group, you can try to time when people are getting damage amps, which you're probably going to do with these ad spawns. You don't want to like roll the coins constantly because it gives the boss a stacking damage buff. So every time you manually re-roll a coin, the boss gains a stacking damage buff. So that kind of deters you from constantly rolling coins. We're probably going to be timing these sometimes specific, such as when ads spawn. So on this first set, I tell you what, I'm going to look through a couple pulls and I'm going to take notes. And I'm going to see if I can determine if these spawned in the same order every time or not. So on this set, we went flame, coin, shock. I think it spawned like this on the first set every time, for what it's worth. But I'll confirm that here in a minute. Okay, so we were cleaving the first one on top of the boss. You're going to need to put kicks on these ads. So let's say you go left next, you're going to want to have like, it only took like one range player. Like I would just set this guy as my focus target, and when he started casting, I would just go ahead and kick it. Oh, okay, on this set it looks like maybe we were pivoting at this time, and we were going for shock first to see if he would drop a pylon. Okay, anyway, you're going to have an order, and the one that's not being killed by the group first, you're going to want to have range kicks on so that overload doesn't go off. Overload won't directly wipe you itself, but it does a lot of damage and a knockback, so if it overlaps with anything else, it's problematic. Here's a guy with a buff. So when we killed the first ad in the middle, it dropped this yellow buff. So we got a player, picked it up, and he needs to use extra action button to feed it to the boss. Okay, so I believe he's just now fed it to the boss. Okay, we've killed the second one, and they fed that to the boss. And so that was coin and shock. So the boss is doing reward coin and shock currently. I don't know specifically what it does, but we'll have an idea of that later on. I believe shock always drops one of these pylons for us right there. So if you have any reward that involved shock, it drops this pylon, and someone can activate this pylon and it'll absorb up to 2 of the lightning puddles nearby. I believe these lightning puddles are dropped by tanks. So tanks want to drop those on the wall, and then when you have a shock reward and it drops a pylon, you're going to want to have someone click the pylon to absorb 2 nearby puddles. When you click the pylon, it does like 14 million damage to you, so you need like an immunity or you need to be a tank. Coin, I don't remember. I don't know what the coin reward does. It might give us extra pay lines. And so this third guy, like, you don't get a buff from, is my understanding. So you only get 2 buffs out of each 3. So you choose which 2 you want, and then you kill the third one after. So in general, that's like the gist of the fight. So you'll have ads spawn in sets of 3. You kill 2 of them, depending upon which 2 you want to give to the boss at the time, given the conditions and everything. And then that's pretty much it. So you repeat this until you've been through all combinations of coins, and I think by then you're supposed to be there's a phase 2 later on, and at which point phase 2, I think phase 2 happens once the boss has seen every combination of coins, right, or buffs. So once you have fed the boss all possible combinations of 2 buffs, he will enter like phase 2, and at that point he's kind of damage amped, and also he determines like what rewards you get. So I don't know if you're supposed to not see phase 2. Like, I'm not sure if you're supposed to kill him before then, or if we're gonna have to play it out. But I don't have a lot of information on phase 2 at this point in time, just to be honest. Like, we didn't see it. If there's any kind of like group-wide damage going out, I'll be honest with you, I don't really know about it. I'm not a healer, and so I apologize for not being well spoken on that. So here's me trying to get to the coins. So I think I need to do. We'll have boss timers and stuff. So when if I'm more aware that pay line's coming out, what I'm going to look for is like, okay, I see the line of the coin. I'm going to go ahead and move to the side of it so that way I can pick up the buff as it rolls by. Like here, I just noticed and moved too late. Okay, so on this second set, I see that we have bomb, shock, and coin. So I'm going to write that down. Bomb, shock, coin. And notice, I think we must have activated the pylon and soaked up puddles over there.
Can we kill it without... I'm going to take it from inside.
So we're killing the shock guy.
Yeah.
Someone should pick up his buff and feed that to the boss, and then we're going for bomb. So we're trying to spawn shock and bomb on this one. Here's a coin. See, I was that close and I did not get the buff. So the boss is doing a reward right now. I take it, as I think we probably have fed him by now. Okay, here. Fraud detected. One-armed bandit finds too few symbols. So I don't think we fed the buff to the boss in time, is what it reads like to me. And basically, fraud detected. We didn't feed him the buff in time and we wipe.
What?
Or is it because we already did coin and shock? It's because we already did coin and shock. On the very first one we did coin and shock. No, this is bomb. Sorry, this was shock and bomb. So I think this one we didn't feed him the bomb buff in time, and that's why we wipe. So we kill him. Does anyone pick it up? I can't tell by my camera angle if anyone picked it up or not. But we were too slow in killing the ads and died. Okay, let me go. I'm going to scroll back a little bit and see if I can find from earlier pulls if these ads always spawn in the same order or not. Where is the first set? Oh yeah, so here's like you can run to one of these coins and then roll them. They're just a roll in the angle that you threw them at. So I imagine you kind of want to. I rolled it and started running forward and like hit myself with it. And it's like I literally rolled it myself and didn't get the debuff for the damage amp. So sometimes I did and sometimes I didn't. Seems a little inconsistent. But I imagine you want to roll a coin directly through the group so that the most people have a good chance of picking up the damage amp. They just need to be cognizant and make sure not to get hit by it as it goes through. Okay, so we have shock, flame, and coin. Okay, and I think this is the first set. So for what it's worth, those are the same 3 ads that were in the other poll I watched for the first set, but they're just not in the same locations. Here's me going. So reward, shock, and flame, I would think, right? Because that was the other one we killed. Oh, okay. Once you kill the other 2 assistants, the third one loses its affinity. So previously, this one was called a coin real assistant, and it's lost its coin moniker, and now it's just a real assistant, so it won't drop a buff. Okay, which 2 did we feed at this time? Forgive me, I'm going to meander a little bit. So we did flame and shock. So our payoff, or our reward, is shock and flame. So we should get a pylon. I think we're going to get a pylon. And then the flame reward seems to make people spout these fire circles from them whenever a flame reward goes off. So yeah, we got a pylon because we did a shock reward. So really we would want to have fed the boss over here on top of these, so that way the reward pylon would have dropped here and we could have absorbed these puddles. I don't know if that's, I don't know if that's the most optimal way to play it, but logically to me it's like, okay, well we wanted this pylon over here so we could soak up the circles. I'm gonna skim forward a bit. I'm trying to mess with the coins a lot because I was trying to understand how they worked. Okay, so this time this is the second set, and I see bomb, shock, and coin. Okay, so this is, as a second set of ads, it is the same set and in the same locations as the second set of ads on another pool I looked at. So it seems like, so far, there's a good chance that the ad spawns are fixed per set. So it looks like we are likely going to have a predetermined knowing which ads we're going to kill on each set, and you're probably going to have like a big note up here that says bomb and shock, fire and this and that. And I imagine that's how we're going to end up handling, or like we're going to know ahead of time like what ads we're going to get and which buffs we're going to give. At least in heroic. I don't know what the mythic mechanics are. And also, excuse me, I'm going to watch through a few more pulls. Oh, there's that overload cast. So I should have gotten a kick on this, but you'll see if this goes off, we take damage and get a knockback. Okay. Did we get him fed? Okay, no. So we didn't kill the ad in time and didn't feed him with a buff. So he got mad and just said fraud detected and wipes us. So fraud detected goes off if you don't kill the ads and feed him fast enough, or if you feed him the same combo more than once. Again, once you've fed him all possible combos, you enter phase 2.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
And I honestly don't really know what happens in phase 2, if I'm being honest. It's like phase 1, but the rewards, quote unquote rewards, are predetermined. Okay, so yeah, that's an example. Tank drops debuff on wall. Okay, spin to win is what spawns the ads, and I see we have shock, coin. Let me write this down real quick. Shock, coin. What is on the right? That looks like flame to me. Yeah, because the bomb's purple. So this is coin, shock, flame. Okay, so through the 3 pulls I've watched so far, the first set of ads had been flame, coin, shock. In another pull, the first set of ads was shock, flame, coin. And in this set, it's shock, coin, flame. So it seems like this first set is always flame, coin, and shock, but their positioning is not exact. So we're feeding him coin and shock. So I know that the reward will include a pylon. And I believe these rewards the coin reward must be a payline. there was a fire tornado, and earlier I said I thought these fire tornadoes were due to a flame reward, but we did not cash in a flame reward, so I was incorrect about that. I believe the fire rewards, I know one of them is a big like AoE damage thing, so I don't know if that's all fire rewards, but forgive me at this point in time, I'm not certain. So yeah, here's an example of how, let's see how close I was in order to get the damage amp with this one. Oh, I'm gonna roll it myself. Okay. See, this is probably a bad time to roll it, because, like, I don't know. Well, I don't know. You probably want to roll these when had spawns in order to get damage amps, is kind of what we were thinking. This pylon could be clicked to absorb that pool, but it'll absorb up to 2 pools, so I think you want to wait until another pool spawns before you use it. Okay, this is a second set, and I see that we have bomb, shock, and coin. Okay, so this is really interesting to me. Every pull, the second set has been this 3 in this order. It's always been bomb, shock, coin. So it looks like we're going to be able to pre-plan this fight a good amount with regards to which ad we kill and buffs for feeding the boss. So it looks like this is going to be relatively scripted. See, I tried to chase that coin down and grab my debuff, but even getting that close, I did not get it. I imagine we're not going to kill this ad fast enough. And we're frauds. Yeah, I think we didn't kill him fast enough and we're frauds. Okay, let me, maybe just one more pull, and then we'll go to the next. Okay, so tank drops the debuff. If this first set is always flame, coin, and shock, then you're probably going to do shock, so that way you have a pylon to soak a couple. Like you wouldn't use the pylon on this set, but maybe on the next set, once there's multiple of these circles down, you would have a pylon. Like, you're going to plan where you're going to drop your first pylon, and then you're going to make sure to put these circles where you intend to drop that pylon to soak them. This is a first set. It is flame, coin, and shock, which is expected. Again, the ordering or positioning of these guys on this first set seems to change a bit. The second set, it's been the same 3 and in the same position every time. Okay, so we killed coin, and we're going to kill flame. Okay, we'll get a reward. Payline. Have we not fed him? Here's... Oh, we didn't feed him. Oh, yeah, our guy with the debuff didn't know yet. We were pretty early on, so we didn't feed him and wipe for fraud discovery. So, okay. So, I don't want to meander around too much more. I'm not trying to, like... The point of this isn't to like decipher or like draw out how to do the whole fight. It's just says that this is just introductory information to get familiarized with the mechanics. And I think to this point it's been it's kind of covered that. So if I try to go on and do any more than what I've covered here, I am just frankly yapping with talking about things I don't understand. So that's gonna cut it. I'm going to cut it here for this boss. I'm going to pause the recording, and I'll pick up in a minute on Mugsy. All right, so here I am on Mugsy. Let's see, how much footage? I have like an hour of footage for this. So in the early part, we focused on the red side, and in the latter part, we focused on the blue side. So I might have to shift around a little bit in order to find the most apt clips to show you. But in short, you have the boss in one side of the room, you get a certain set of mechanics. If you move the boss in the other side of the room, you get a different set of mechanics. It does seem like you're going to want to overlap these mechanics intentionally at some point. Like there's a mechanic over here. It seems like you might need to deal with the mechanic you get over here. So I'll try to explain that later on. But at the moment, I'm just going to explain the sides of the room one at a time. So this first on the right side, what I'll just call it the red side. The boss is going to put circles on 2 people, and they need a couple people to help them soak. Once after the soak, they are going to be jailed in by some rock walls, and there's an ad in the middle. The ad does some damage, so I think you need a healer in each soak. But you can either break the walls by killing the ad, or afterwards, people get basically a frostbolt that's going to shoot at them, and if they aim their frostbolt at the walls or the earth jail that is jailing these people, it'll break the walls down. So what it seemed like to me was that you want to put a minimal amount of people in the soak circles, and then it's that way everyone else can stay on the outside damaging the boss. And then when the frost arrows come out, the people that get the frost arrows on the outside aim their frost arrows at the jails and free those people. Then everyone can turn on the ads as a group and nuke them down together. They should already be low from the few people that were inside the jails. I'm trying to think. At first we had a lot of people in the jails, and it seemed like when you didn't have enough people outside the jails, people inside the jails would get frost arrows. If you just get hit by the frost arrow, I mean, you just die. Like, you have to it seemed to me you have to hit an earth wall with your frost arrow in order to soak it. That's even what the dungeon journal says. So I'll just play the first pull here because I've been talking, and I'm not sure me talking about this stuff helps a lot without you actually even seeing it. Also, shout out to the guild that I just totally pugged, and these guys were super cool. Had a really fun time getting to play with these guys. So if any of y'all see this video, shout out to you. Appreciate you having me in your group. So whenever he moves into a side, he throws these bombs and this uncontrolled destruction bit for a little, and just does a lot of raid-wide damage. So when you move from one side to the other or on pull, he does this thing, and it's just a fair amount of group damage. Sometimes I got absolutely trucked by this. Like a few pulls, I go down to like almost no health, and I don't think it's based on proximity to these. I think I'm not certain about that, but just one thing that was on my mind I wanted to mention. Like, see how low the rogue is, right? Like, he got super low. So I think the start of the fight, you definitely got to be ready with some healing to handle it. Yeah, someone died and nothing's happened yet, you know?
My God, DJ, I'm banned from this raid.
I think this was our very first pull. Okay, so here's the two soak circles. They do about 16 million damage split amongst the people inside, and then you spawn with a Galagio Goon, who is a rock elemental with a pimp hat. And so these you can't get out, and you're line of sighted until that ad dies, or until someone breaks it with either a frost arrow or a crawler mine. Crawler mines come from the other side. Let me skip ahead. So in this pull, we're in here as well. Okay, so here are frost arrows. So ice crystal spawns right behind you if you get one of these before it comes out. And if you've ever played Sinarth, you're basically like, you have like the ice walking movement, right? So your acceleration is really slow. So it takes you a second to get up to speed, and it takes you time to change direction as well. So the idea would be for these people to aim their arrows at a rock wall, and also have the rock wall in between them and the crystal. The rock wall will tank the hit, and you won't get hit by the frost arrow.
Hit the rocks with this to break our wall so we can get out.
So if you kill the rock elemental, he does this jailbreak, and it'll break all the walls. That's good because it lets people out, but I think it's bad because you then can't use it to soak these arrows or future crawler mines. So the best way to handle this will be determined at a future point in time. I don't know that yet. Again, I'm just trying to do an introduction to the mechanics of the fight. Yeah, so that absolutely just killed people. It also, the couple times I got that mechanic, it just disconnected me as well. So we go ahead and try to run over to the blue side, those of us that are left. When you come over here, there are these two robots. There's one over here, and there's one on the other side. These Mark II electroshockers. These guys cast a thing called Surging Arc, and it hits someone and jumps. And when it jumps, it does more damage. It jumps up to 9 times, and the tooltip does not indicate that that is limited to range. So if you start the fight in this side of the room, or when you come over here, you need to nuke one of these guys down ASAP. I don't think you want to split damage between them because they do a ton of damage. I think you want to say, we're killing this one. Everyone, as soon as you run over, nukes this thing. That way you're having the amount of Surging Arc damage going out. That's just kind of my current take on this. But I mean, yeah, look how much I just get hit for. Well, I could have been hit by Surging Arc and the boss thing, right? So, yeah, I just took a Surging Arc for I got 2 mil from the boss thing, and then 2 mil amongst other damage from a Surging Arc. Anyway, so the transition of this side of the room seems particularly rough because you're having the big boss damage thing and surging arcs going out at the same time. Right, like surging arc, I got hit by like 3 surging arcs in 3 seconds and each one did 2.5 mil. Okay, so I'm gonna skip ahead some pulls until I see one where we did our kind of thing in the red side that we were happy with before we transition to blue. So I think it'll be this pull. Okay, so we pull, the raid-wide damage is going out. Got a heal / damage mitigate through that. We're about to get soaks. So I think you want to have only a couple people, like a healer and a DPS in a soak. I think we might have been trying to load up. One other concept was load up one soak and blow it up, and then everyone aim their frost arrows at the other one. That was another concept that was discussed. So in this case, I'm on the outside. I should get a frost arrow. I think you want people on the outside of the jail so you can keep damaging the boss. That's what kind of makes sense to me. Okay, so I'm going to get an arrow. It's hard for me to accelerate because I'm walking on ice, basically. So I come down here and I change direction. And I am now going to... This wall will intercept my arrow, provided this guy doesn't get hit by it. Oh, he got out of the way. Okay, he's fine. What was I taking? And during this time, I think the... Let's see, the rock elementals are doing some frontals, and there's some group-wide damage going out as well. But in short, you can see the walls that were hit by the arrows got knocked down. The walls that did not are still up, but I think it might be a good thing because you might need these walls to handle a mechanic from the other side. And hopefully we'll see that in a little bit. And then you dodge these circles. So we assumed about this time is when you want to go ahead and move them to the other side. I think we moved them a little slow, and we're actually going to get jails here. Now, the funny thing is this might be a good thing. You know what? There's no way this is a good thing. I said that, and then I realized the 2 ads on the outsides are about to spawn. So the fact, like it's, excuse me, the boss doing uncontrolled destruction and the surging arcs that are about to come out are just going to decimate everyone. And if we have people in these jails that can't help deal with it, then I think we're just kind of screwed. So I do think you need to move them over here before the jail mechanic comes out again. Okay, cool. Now, that's pretty much the red side, or my understanding of it, and those mechanics that you see over there. So now I'm going to cut over to a later pull that we had on blue. Maybe not the very last ones. Sorry, there is a specific pull that I want. I'll just start here. Why not? Okay, so at the start of the phase, when you start on this side, these 2 ads spawn. So we start down here and nuke the one on the skull. Shortly after, the boss spawns a bunch of crawler mines. Our objective is to bait all the crawler mines to spawn over here. They will fixate and kind of walk after people. So we try to spawn them all down here and then go kill that ad. And we're hiding our crawler mines basically across the room in that direction. So same thing when the boss starts the fight or moves from one half to the other, you get uncontrolled destruction, group-wide damage. Yeah, I mean, I'm 2% health. You know, did I get hit directly by one of these bombs? I'm curious. Visually, I mean, 2 just landed right next to me. I have no idea if it's a proximity thing or if it's raid-wide. It must be a proximity thing because everyone else is not in the same boat I am, right? Oh, I only live because of this new pack leader thing. That's cool. Okay, so we nuked the guy down, the surging arc ad. Now these red circles are going to have crawler mines spawn on them, and they're going to fixate people and start walking towards them. So we intentionally baited those down here. It's not easily determined what all CC works against them. In short, it seems like very little CC works against them. Frost Nova, I think, worked. Frost Traps, I think, worked. I am uncertain about anything else working. I think I heard other groups doing a big root strategy. So what happened here is one of those bombs, one of these crawler mines was popped, and it spawned a bunch of soak circles, and because we did not soak them, we all died. And you couldn't see that, so I'm sorry for that. Let me go try to find... If you'll just give me a minute here, there's a specific pool that I think... this one looks good enough. Okay, so on this one, we were starting on circle, because we hadn't decided on the strat to, you know, spawn all the crawlers over here. So the ads have spawned. I should be targeting an ad right now. I'm not. Okay, there we go. I've swapped. Okay, crawler mines are coming down. So what happens is if you walk into one of these, or if you get them hit by other mechanics, they pop. When they pop, they spawn about 5 soak circles, right? So that one just got popped, and now this is heroic, so you can walk into it and pop it. But in the mythic thing, the mythic mechanic for this says if anyone walks into it, the damage is lethal. So you might be walking into them via bops and turtle and stuff like that, or we might more be focusing on using other boss mechanics to pop these. But the basics of the mechanic is that when you pop these crawler mines, or if they reach their target, they spawn soak circles that people need to stand in. If you miss any of these soak circles, your group basically dies. So that's like the primary or like first mechanic for this phase. The next thing is a big soak circle. So this didn't do like so much damage that everyone needed to be in it, but a fair amount of people need to be in the big soak circle, maybe 4 or 5. So the reason we have these small soak circles now is because we just popped a mine. So which one did we pop? This one was popped. Why was it popped? He called for a bop, and he chose to pop this one here. And this is where, if I were to try to discuss this, I would be diverging from talking about observations and understanding the mechanics versus like strategies on how to handle them. I can postulate on strategies to handle it, but I don't think that's best for me to do at this point in time. It's more just getting familiarized with the mechanics first. So in this instance, the raid leader called for a bop and chose to pop this one now. So we would, because we only need about 5 people in this big soak circle, then 5 other people could do these small soaks. In theory, that sounds great. In practice, I don't know that it works out so well. Oh, it worked out great. Hell yeah. Okay, when the big circle ends, there's this big flame puddle, so you probably want to bait it all the way to the wall. One idea we had was that you could assign who goes into big circle and who does the small soaks based on who has fixates. So I would think you bait this big circle all the way to the far wall, and people with fixates will go help soak it because they'll be farther away from their crawler mines. And then during that time, you have people without fixates working on popping these individually and doing the soaks. So this line, I think, that is targeted on someone. They can choose where it aims. So like in Mythic, this is a mechanic that you might choose to aim at a crawler mine to pop it manually with it instead of having someone, you know, walk. So again, here we just, we popped a crawler mine and missed soak circles like back here. So when you have your group doing soaks, you're probably going to be wanting to ping like, hey, I'm about to pop this crawler mine, and your soak bros are probably hanging out around it, like ready to kind of pre-spread a little bit. So there might be another mechanic you'll get to see here. He does like a cone frontal spray and pray. So that also is targeted on someone and can be used to pop crawler mines. One other thing that the Dungeon General says will pop crawler mines are the Earth Jail walls. So there's a chance that we end up using the Earth Jail walls from this side to pop some crawler mines. So it's all just going to be a game of figuring out how to pop these crawler mines, pop all of the crawler mines before the next set comes out, because I think on our last poll we tested to see like when the next set would come out. So let me go to our last poll real quick just to see if I have a demonstration of that. Okay, so the mine spawn, we go to the other end. They're coming right now. We should probably be popping and soaking one. The big circle is going to come out. I would say the fixate people should go to the big circle, and everyone else should work on popping and soaking the small circles from the crawler mines. But the best way to handle that will be determined at a future point in time. Okay, so we popped one over there, and we're all about to die. Yeah. Okay, let me. There was one pool where we got the second set of crawler mines to spawn. So I'm gonna scroll through to see if I can find it for you. Okay, so on this pull, we get the crawler mines to spawn down here. We run to the other end. Forgive me, I'm hopping around. I hope it's not too hard to follow, but okay, so I get the circle. I think I should go against the wall because it leaves a flame puddle in the future. Okay. Someone's got the line on them. They're aiming it away from the group. Oh, and wherever that person get hit by the line, I think there's usually this big area of denial circle. Okay, someone's got the cone on them. They're baiting it away. So in this case, we had gone ahead and chosen to move the boss over here. Oh, and he must not do the mechanic where all the mines fall from the ceiling. That must not happen when he moves to this other zone, but rather when his energy tops off, is what it seems like. Because we're already getting the mechanics from the other zone, and I don't think he ever made the mines fall from the ceiling. So I have been mistaken in saying that happens when he switches zones. It seems more to be when he tops off his energy. Also funny, when he switched from that zone to this one, he switched from mana to focus. Okay, so we're going to have soaks coming out. I think on this one, the idea was like, hey, let's try to bait the mines into the jails. I don't know that that works so well because, like, if you had more than one of them hit at a time, there's, like, way too many circles to soak. I know on A pool we did get the second set of bombs to spawn. And it was around the same timing. On this side earlier, I showed where we had kind of completed the first phase. And, right? So on this pull, we completed the first phase and we were moving him over and then the jail spawned again. The same timing happens for the second set of crawler mines. So however far this was into the pull would be where the second set of crawler mines would spawn if we were still here. So it's kind of a thing like you want to deal with your jails and you want to deal with your crawler mines before the next set of them spawns, and that's usually timed around uncontrolled destruction. It seems is like a good phase swap. Okay, so cool. I think I've been meandering a bit, so that's really the extent of my knowledge and experience on the mechanics of this fight from the heroic raid testing, as well as the other ones. So I hope this was helpful and not too long. It was good for me to review these, and it was fun to get to do this. And hey, best of luck in the next raid tier, and I wish you well. Have a good one.